Eight.
Okay, are we ready to call the meeting to order? This is it,
Yep.
right? Okay. And it looks like, okay, we're gonna call the meeting to order at 11 o'clock. A motion to accept the agenda?
Oh, I'll accept.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
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 And I guess we don't have it on here, but a motion to accept the minutes.
Yeah, so I was gonna amend that. We go ahead and
Except with
that. Mhm.
Oh, yeah.
Except with the
The agenda, accept the minute.
Yeah, we can add that.
changes, yeah.
And yeah, the one change I see is that my name is spelled
Twice in there.
twice.
Yeah, I have marked it down.
And the timeline then,
And the what?
the timeline that was supposed to be attached from Philomena's.
Oh, okay. And the timeline's missing.
Online anyway.
Anything else?
Somebody want a second?
Do we have a motion?
Second.
Second. Okay. Okay, merchandise and pricing.
Yeah, so we got the mugs in. We have the navy and the orange in. I don't believe that pricing has changed. So we could still, I think we're selling them for 10. I meant to look at that. So that seems fine. And then we got the bags. We got just green bags because we already had orange bags. So the thing that we talked about, the item that we talked about last meeting were the hats. And what I found out, when I think I sent you guys an email, is that we were able to order the hats at the reduced rate, but those prices are going to go up. So after June 1st, and they're gonna go up by $3, I believe, or so. And as prices currently stand at the hats at 15, the cost at about 11, we're only making about $3. And then with that going up, we wouldn't, we would be barely breaking even. So I know Amy had mentioned maybe not going over 18, but then we'd have to make change.
Yeah.
So I was kind of thinking maybe we should consider 20. They're nice, beautiful embroidered hats. The quality is good. Everything's kind of going up in price. So I don't know.
Years.
Yeah.
This is only my second one for several.
Yeah. So anyway, that was sort of something I wanted to talk to you guys about before the first market. Hopefully we'll get the hats in. He told me, the gentleman that I spoke with, he put that we wanted them by that date, but again, with supply. Yeah,
How about considering that, put the price up, but if you get a lot of pushback from customers saying, oh, that's seeming like a lot, I think I'm going to pass on that. Consider bringing up at a future meeting.
To bring it back down.
Adjusting back down some, saying, well, rather make a little bit of money on more sales.
So just do a flat 20, that would give us $5, or
what was that?
do 20 rather than 18, or?
20, I think he said they were going up to 11, 12, 13, 14. So
That would give us $6.
Five something.
yeah, 5 something. I think it's, yeah.
Yeah.
And if we stay at 15, then we're
Yeah.
Yeah.
breaking
No, I
even.
think. it's pretty good.
And I can't, we have, the budget is such that I can't add any, if we're not making any money off anything we sell, then we're not going to be able to add
Yeah.
anything additional, truly. So that might sell as well. So that's the other thing
I think Me Young has
to
it.
consider.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I just pulled up the price list that we had last year. And just an FYI, the mugs we did sell for $10, but I feel like we could go up on the mugs even, but that's secondary. But you know, caps and mugs are very popular as souvenirs, and I think people will readily pay $20 for a cap. You know,
Actually, I just had a woman who broke her mug and she sent me a message and I only charged her for the mug and then the shipping, which was $12. Anyway, it ended up being about, she sent us a check for $27 to cover that and she had no problem with it at all. She,
The shipping was as much as the mug?
Mhm.
Oh, wow.
yeah.
but what color are the mugs, Tracy?
They
Did you
are
order?
orange, Philomena ordered those.
Okay.
But they are orange and navy blue.
Okay, because they used to be orange and purple, and we used to say they were the colors of the Cannon Beach Sea Stars.
Well, maybe it's purple and I just, when I looked at
Okay.
it, thought it was navy.
Okay.
It's purple. Yeah, I kind of just glanced in the box to see, so that might be, they might be purple.
Okay.
I imagine Philomena did the ordering, so I imagine if that's what she had ordered in the past, it's the same.
Yeah.
Um,
And that really does sell mugs to tell them that story. You know, they.
Right.
Oh, really? And then they'll pick
Yeah.
us. Yeah, they'll pick us when maybe they weren't going to.
Right. And they'll take a pair, actually. They'll take two, one of
Yeah.
each.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Wow.
good sales.
And I mean, obviously, our merchandise is also not just for souvenirs, but marketing. So we do want people to pick it up, right? I mean, that's another reason why we do want to, like, to your
Yeah.
point, Bob, we don't want to not sell these things, but we just need to be a little bit.
Okay. So are you good with 20? So should somebody make a motion or?
So do we need a price on the cups too?
I'm okay with going up to 12 on those too.
Yeah.
I'd move 20 on the hats and 12 on the cups.
Okay.
Yeah, because I usually pay $20 when I'm buying hats, and I do buy a lot of hats. I do buy a
Yeah.
lot of hats.
Okay. You want a second? Okay, you're seconding.
Yep.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, vendor setup, schedule and payments.
Yeah, so I was going through what vendors pay and everyone signs up for pretty much the full market. There's a handful of people who do not, but that is given to them at a discounted rate of $400. So if they don't pay for the full market, it's $35 a day. But so some of the vendors, that's how they pay. So the manager was collecting, even though they signed up at the, to get all the dates, they may not pay until the day of. And that was, I believe, at the $35 rate, but then I think once they hit the $400, I don't think that they paid anymore. So and I did talk to Philomena about this, and there's two things that do come into play. The vendors don't have the money yet, obviously, to pay that $400. They're making it, upfront, which is understandable. But one concern that I have with that is they are getting a discounted rate and taking up days at the market where they don't, if they didn't pay, we have no recourse as far as charging them or not charging them. Philomena said it wasn't much of an issue. She didn't think that people didn't, they just didn't show up. She said that it maybe a few, but not that she didn't think that if they paid in advance, that would still be an incentive. But I just think it's something one thing that I thought about was encouraging softly, not, making it, but as we move forward, encouraging them to pay the fees up front. So for example, Kingfisher has 2 booths and he has already paid the 800. It was just something I thought I was gonna send out a letter to all the vendors, and just, like I said, encourage the payment in advance. Because I just think that, for example, next week, I just got a message from the flower people that they won't be here. And yeah, it's really
Or just that?
just
week?
that day.
Okay.
But again, I went to the farmer's market in Astoria on Sunday. I went the previous Sunday and then I went last Sunday. And it's very noticeable when your vendors don't show up, and especially our market being so small. And so I also wanted then to ask you guys about bringing in another flower vendor just for next week. She doesn't have, she offers CSA, and she doesn't have all the fresh flowers right now just because of the season, and they had some issues, but she would have some dried flowers. And so that would be a $35 payment, and then, the $10 licensing fee and whatnot. And so just so that we had something there, not just because of that, but just because I want to keep I don't want people coming and being disappointed. Well, you told me there would be flowers, or you said that there would be this, and I really, anyway, I just kind of wanted to hear your thoughts on that.
I think if the dried flower lady wants to come, I think that's great. And if she'd like to come more during the summer, that's great also. But I know just from talking to the vendors through the years, sometimes these things are unexpected. I mean, their truck broke down, there was a family emergency, just because they are small businesses, the least little thing can create havoc for them.
Right, I think this is unusual that you have enough notice
Warning.
to
Yeah.
consider bringing
Somebody
somebody.
else.
Yeah, yeah. Most of them, you found out when they were putting people on setup and
Mm.
where they were supposed to go.
Oh,
It's, I mean, she has fresh flowers. It's
Mhm.
just right now she would have dried.
I mean, is it someone local? in
It is
town?
Nehalem.
Oh,
she-
Nehalem.
yeah, and
The
she-
Moon River thing? Is it
not Moon
Moon
River, it's, I have her CSA and it's escaping me right now. Let me see, and I know she would like to be, included in our market. I know that Z's Flowers have been here since the beginning, so I'm not,
We're early
But-
on.
but it's still, I mean, there's 3 or 4 market flower vendors in Astoria, and I know they're bigger, but it still may be, her flowers are very much sort of more kind of wild, you know what I mean? They would, it's a different style that they both would have. And she could also sell her CSAs. So I was
And if she we have room for her if she wants to come up, if you don't think that they're in direct competition with each other.
Yeah.
I think there'd be direct competition, but I think that they're
The difference in the flowers.
right. Yeah,
Because the lady across from the farmer's market, the one with the 3-legged dog, that I can never figure out how they stay in business, she sometimes has flowers.
Mhm.
Can't remember her name or,
Right across from them.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
she keeps giving all the vendors or all the volunteers free. I have no idea how she makes money at that market.
no, maybe she just likes to be there. She or money elsewhere. I don't think
It's
so.
River City Flower Farms.
Okay.
Yeah, I've heard of that. Okay, can we go back to the prepaid fee?
Mhm.
How do the other farmers markets around handle that? Like Manzanita and Astoria, do they require their money up front?
Manzanita, I think they're working into, all of us are working into, if we're holding the
Trying to do
spots and, asking for that payment up front.
Mhm.
Astoria is different because the way that they charge is like a portion of the sales or something.
Yeah.
It's different. So it's
Mhm.
not the same as us.
They do a percent.
But I do know with talking with Manzanita, she was also saying that they're really trying to, because again, it goes back to the holding space and then when we're
Right.
full.
Yeah.
we're full. And, if we turn people away and then all of a sudden these people aren't showing up, then we've lost, a little bit of money. But again, I understand also that sensitivity of some vendors not having that payment quite yet. And so, it's just, I think a matter of, kind of working with them and saying, maybe even half.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
the rest, something that just, it's like a deposit almost.
Yeah, yeah.
I think not for this year, but as we deal with this issue going forward, I think our full season prepayment needs to be the discount.
And not the one
And
time.
we need to make it look like that more by raising the 35
Yeah,
Yeah.
to a higher amount. And the other thing we might consider would be paying a month at a time as the least option.
Mhm.
Again, processing a payment,
yeah,
every time you process a payment, there's a fee or an expense.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that should be, the more payments you have to process should be the highest price.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, because paying in full for the whole season, that should be the deal.
That's
Yeah.
where you go.
Yeah,
Right, exactly.
yeah,
It is
Yeah.
a discounted rate.
They shouldn't be able to come for 10 times at a lesser rate than.
Right.
And if they pay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree.
yeah,
See something,
Again, I think
You know?
that's probably a change.
at the same.
season.
yeah,
Yeah, so maybe this is just a gentle ask and
Mhm.
for this season, and then we
Mhm.
will work into the next season and letting them know in advance that this is what's gonna be happening.
Mhm.
Is that something we need to vote on, or is that just a discussion?
I don't think so. Maybe when we vote on we would do is when we decide what that pricing would look like, that's when we would vote.
Yeah.
Okay.
What those fees would look like. Okay, so, thank you guys for that. Then the next thing that I have is the prepared food tax. So, as you guys are probably aware is, there is a charge for, prepared food in Cannon Beach for the restaurants. So, some of our vendors have expressed that, it's hard to manage that, because they often don't have POS systems, and again, when I say the tax, but it's not being charged to the vendor, it's being charged to the customer. But it also, the vendor has to
Pass it through.
pass it
Yeah.
through, file the taxes. They're not charged at any other farmers markets for this, so their pricing, if they have to raise their, if I go up to Astoria and get a Sasquatch sandwich for 15 and now he has to charge 17, it's, to the customer. So, so what happened was, it came before the council had switched over. And then they sort of said, you know what, we probably shouldn't make this decision. Let's let the new council make the decision. Well, when they started discussing it, they started defining what temporary meant because it was about the Legion and Burger Night. So the conversation sort of went to that. And when Bruce was going to bring it up, because the way that they defined temporary was more than 5 days. And so he said, okay, well then we don't really meet that criteria. So he withdrew. So he decided not to bring that up at that time because, he didn't think it would pass because of what they said. So, however, when I came on, I want to revisit it. So I was able to, so I guess the way that what you do is you ask if somebody on the council would be willing to revisit it, and someone was. And so on our first farmer's market, June 13th, I've prepared a staff report and I'll go before the council and I will ask them to change the ordinance that farmers markets prepared food are exempt. And that's so I don't know, I know you guys will be volunteering and working all day, but if it's something you want to be here for, to see how the council, or make any comments to see what the council thinks about that. And I don't
So-
know, yeah, go ahead.
So Tracy, how many of our vendors will it impact?
It's definitely gonna only impact two. There could be some of the bakers that it's tricky, like if they prepare it not at their booth and it comes already in a bag, then they wouldn't have to pay it. But if they pick it up and they put it in a bag,
Oh my
And-
God, you're kidding.
it's so much.
Okay, so it's potentially two vendors. And if we don't have an exception, then do you think we would lose those two vendors?
Um,
In other
Yes.
words, are we just making their life difficult, or are we really at the risk of losing those two vendors?
I think that so the pizza gentleman that was
Yeah.
here, he didn't understand that that's how it works. And he left a message and he said part of the reason he wouldn't come back is that was part of it. So I don't,
Yeah, the gelato people who were here a couple of years ago,
yeah,
any of them wouldn't come because of it.
yeah.
Well, I mean, that's the next question. If there is an exception to the ordinance, do you think you would expand the number of vendors who have prepared food?
I'm not sure. It kind of depends on what it is. So let's say it's ice cream or shaved ice or something that's not, because Philomena said that really two main food vendors is all that the market our size can handle. But I will say that we also start at 1 o'clock. And I think that if we actually started earlier, I think that more people might be able to break away for lunch and I've had people, city staff tell me that. When it was changed to 1 o'clock, it was more difficult for them to visit and to get their lunch. And I know I'll just speak personally for me, when it was at noon, when I would take turns, to all the vendors, and I ate lunch all the time. When it became 1 o'clock and there was just pizza, I wasn't really.
So my final question, I mean, if I'm thinking of what the questions a council person might have around it, have you explored any ways to make this easier on those really handful of vendors at most? Is there some sort of, could we help them purchase or be trained in the point of sale system, sort of the way they're trying to helped out the restaurants in town?
Well, I don't know that is, I think the hardship of that is kind of my lowest argument on it. I think more of the example that I'm giving is Sasquatch is gonna go to Astoria, or they'll be in Seaside. They're charging, it's on their, their pricing is already there. It's $15 for their sandwiches. And they have to come to Cannon Beach and change their pricing, And so,
Remake signs,
yeah,
they had them printed.
yeah. But I mean, I went and had a sandwich in Astoria for 15, and then I'm coming down here and they're charging 18. I don't know, I sort of would be like, if I didn't understand how the tax works, and then what does that mean? We educate every visitor that's here, that, you know what I mean? Or do they think it's the sandwich shop just gouging their price because there's, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just raising their price on Cannon Beach people.
Well, I mean, all our restaurants are expensive. So I'm not sure there's one visitor who's visiting the same food truck in different towns and remarking on the different prices. But, well, I suppose, like Tom's Fish and Chips, you go in Seaside, it's one price. You come to Cannon Beach, it's slightly higher. I don't know. I'm not sure. I find that compelling of an
Yeah.
argument, you know.
What is the tax rate?
5%, I believe.
5%.
Okay, so it's not very much. I still have my mind a little bit back in California where, but I don't remember, 10 or 15%, I think.
Mhm.
Probably more now.
Yeah, and I do understand also the fairness situation as far as, okay, if you're a restaurant, but you have a brick and mortar and you're being charged, and then you come to the farmer's market and then you're not being charged. But I also, the way that I look at the farmer's market, yes, it's more than 5 days, but literally, if I count up the days that they would be collecting, it's 15. That's half a month.
And that is,
Whereas a restaurant,
And to your point, they're only half days.
yeah,
So they're even closer to
Yeah.
5 days.
it is temporary.
it's
I mean,
very temporary in that sense, right? If you, and then if you look at, unfortunately, I tried to find out how much was collected, which they didn't have that because it's not broken out from the farmer's market last year. But to me, the amount of accounting that needs to be done is costs more than it does, and collecting costs more than it does to how much the city takes in.
Yeah.
I mean, I would think that it would, it's kind of the accounting nightmare, because they have to file quarterly taxes, and then they have to, then if they don't pay, then they have to bill collect, and it's and these guys are temporary, and so then what if they just move, or they're gone? I mean, they're not gonna collect it anyway.
Bob's there.
I can't think of what her name is, but have you talked to the head of accounting here to see, how much aggravation is it for your bookkeeping versus how much money you would have coming in? It seems to me that if you're gonna make that argument to city council, I think it would be worthwhile to have her opinion on it.
I've talked to them a little bit about it. They talked about why it was confusing was educating these vendors, and then the vendors not reading the information that was given to them, which was unfortunate on this last go round. And then they had to, so the frustrating part was more just, having to try to collect now with the fees on top of and also because the way that the taxes are done, and they had talked about changing that they would then bill monthly instead of quarterly, because quarterly seems to be confusing to the vendors. And so that was another situation they were saying, but then that would add more to their workload. Anyway, I just, it's a decision that the council will make, obviously. I sort of feel strongly about it in just the sense of it's hard enough getting vendors, and especially prepared food vendors. And like I said, if we're talking 15, 16 weeks, that's very temporary. We don't allow food carts in Cannon Beach either.
Right.
So that's so it is definitely temporary in that sense, because they couldn't just come here and drop off their food cart. So, I don't know.
Yeah, and if they're gonna say they wouldn't come back, that's a real compelling argument. You can't get anybody to say.
Yeah.
It's the sandwich shop, and is it Bear
Barbecue?
Bakery? Who's the other?
Barbecue.
Oh, I didn't know. we were coming.
Yeah, we have a barbecue truck now, or it's not a truck. It's they actually, they cook at their tent.
Oh, that sounds good.
Yeah.
And if the Vernonia Bakery comes back,
Hmm?
if the Vernonia Bakery comes back, they'd have it because they put their things in a bag.
Mhm.
So,
They're very popular.
yeah,
Yeah, and I'm trying to find out, we have a baklava guy and I'm trying to find out from him if he's gonna already pre-bag it or he'll have to pay the tax. And just for reference, they're still gonna have to pay something in June because this won't be approved. If they
Yeah.
approve it,
Mhm.
it's not gonna be approved until July. So there'll be a full month of still collecting.
there'll be three
Yeah.
markets.
Mhm. And so I'm sure we're gonna get feedback on that, but what would be nice is if we could say, this is what we understand the
Mhm.
hardship on that, and this is why we're trying to.
They could retroactive.
Yeah.
They could
Yeah,
retroactive.
and they, maybe, yeah, and maybe they would, be more apt to sort of be like, okay, Cannon Beach that market is trying to,
Yeah.
us out.
I mean, I don't think this is an ideal situation, but I'm just trying to problem solve. Could we, if they have to do that, and it is a hardship, could we lower their fee?
Well, they're already paying a prepared rate, which I think is 35, but they don't have to pay in advance.
No, I mean, oh yeah, their fee to us is,
Yeah,
I think so,
mhm,
it's 35.
yeah.
mhm. Yeah, I mean, if we could give them, I mean, if, we hit a wall with city council, then there may be other ways to softening the blow to them, that we
Right.
control.
Well, the argument with the city council is that it's not a hardship on the vendor, because it's a pass through to the customer. The
Mhm.
hardship to the vendor, in my opinion, is just managing that.
It's the paperwork and the signage.
And how much they have to pay and what the 5% would be, and is it worth it that I'll mark my sandwich up to 18 instead of 15, because then I have to do different signage for each market. Those are the hardships I see. So I don't know how we, if I can see what you're saying, if it was, they were paying it, the vendor themselves,
Yeah.
but they're not.
Yeah,
It's to the customer. And
Yeah,
that's an
it's a-
argument that the council has, I'm sure.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a, it's a point of view, but if you're in Midtown and you're looking for lunch, I mean, you're gonna pay whatever you're gonna pay for that sandwich, because your choices are the Pelican or Screw and Brew for, $30 for a salad. So, I mean, to the visitor, it is what it is in Cannon Beach right now.
Mhm.
So.
And is there, do they have the option of bundling the amount, just having their thing saying that it's this much tax included? Or do they, okay.
They
so-
can, to the.
I mean,
customer, they-
I don't have a lot of sympathy about the extreme amount of extra work to have separate signs for Cannon Beach if they.
I see that, I disagree a little bit, but that's, because I don't know, I'm working with other markets and,
And I hate to
it's
say it,
hard because it's like, they don't do it, they don't have to do it, and it's more, it feels, how do I want to say this? Like, if the market manager or the market in general is helping the vendors out, they're more apt to want to be
Yeah.
at that market. Now, with that being said, they do like the Cannon Beach market because they do good business here, because
Yeah.
there are a lot of people that go through the tourism. But I would say perception wise, and one of the comments that was made to me was, cannot beach, and, why do I want to do that when I have other avenues that.
the other problem is your vendor, it's most likely the same employee or the owner vendor himself there. And when you're really busy, you're not going to remember, 5 days out of the week, you're doing $15 for the sandwich, and on the sixth day, it's 18. You're not going to remember that when you've got 4 or 5 people standing in line and you're trying to get them out, or 10 people. You're going to remember the 15. That's what you're going to do. And they're going to not gather the money in, if they're really busy. Now, I realize that it's kind of low key here, and the idea of 30 people in line, but there were a lot of people for the pizza or the gelato at times.
Mhm.
But I could see them not being used to the price difference. And so some people are walking away from the sandwich place only being charged 15 and 18 by the guy who remembers.
And I know that the reason given to us why the pizza guy wasn't coming back
Was the,
was that reason. I don't know about the gelato. I don't,
he stopped doing all markets.
oh,
He had employee problems.
Okay.
That was, I think, the year before COVID.
and I think that's another thing. There are a lot of owner operated, these carts are the owner
Yeah.
and, so staffing can be an issue too, so.
I think that pizza guy just had a general problem with knowing how to run a business. I'm not trying to be critical.
Yeah.
But I mean, he did all right serving pizza, but when figuring out your tab or figuring out stuff, he was clueless on that. Sometimes I would pay $8. Sometimes, well, I don't have change. So you pay $10 or $12 for a slice of pizza. You didn't have change. So he wasn't the greatest business person, is what I'm saying.
Right.
But if you've got, it is the busy time, and there are farmers markets every day of the week up and down the coast.
Yeah.
And yeah, we have issues getting vendors sometimes anyway.
Mhm.
So if we could not have that negative, that would
Yeah,
help.
yeah. And like I said, it's up to the council.
Yeah.
I just kind of wanted to bring it to your attention that this was something that I was going to try
Yeah.
to do.
Council's
Yeah,
gonna
just see
decide.
what they say.
Yeah, the council is gonna
Mm.
decide that. But I do appreciate, what the thoughts are on, well, why should they waive it? I mean,
Mhm,
yeah,
mhm,
because that again is their prerogative.
mhm.
So, but they have made exceptions for different businesses. So I'm just kind of hoping that they will maybe make this exception, but I can't promise anything.
Mhm.
So, but I at least thought I would ask, because I didn't feel like it was
Yeah, it doesn't hurt.
brought up. Like I said,
Mhm.
Bruce withdrew just because, the way that it
Yeah.
was, and I think that, like, that's why the council is willing to revisit it. So, yeah. So that will be on this 13th. And that is sort of really all I had on the agenda.
Anything else with good of the order?
I've got a couple. I haven't seen the schedule for the year. Are we scheduled to have a farmer's market on the 4th of July?
No,
Oh.
and
Good.
it's up on the website. I put the schedule up.
It says right on the top of the page, no 4th of July market.
Must be a page I couldn't find because it was not on the city's webpage and I couldn't find a farmer's market calendar.
I didn't look at calendar. I just know that if you,
It's on the calendar now.
Oh, okay.
It's on the calendar now, and if you go to the farmer's market.
I didn't mean to be a bitch.
No, that's great.
Also, has somebody set up, after tomorrow, the next Tuesday will be the first market. Has somebody set up to put up the sign on the front of the Chamber of Commerce?
So they have Sandcastle this weekend, so they won't put it up until after.
How about on Sunday?
Huh?
How about on Sunday, once Sandcastle is in the.
Yeah, that, as long as it's after, I had asked them
Okay.
this weekend.
I.
Yeah.
Appreciate your being on it.
Yes, but yeah, and they have their banner up, and so that's what they told me. I'd have to wait until after After-
They didn't have it when I came past just half an hour ago.
They didn't have their banner up yet?
Not where I live, not where I'm used to seeing the farmer's market banner.
I will,
Along Spruce Street.
Okay.
they do have it on my Google thing on my phone, you know, up pops little news things. Yep, the Cannon Beach Sandcastle Day is up, is on my internet when I pop it up.
Hmm.
So they're doing something.
I was trying to think if there was anything else that, just also the other thing that I've been working on, is, our SNAP and Double Up Bucks program. This year, probably not much is going to change, but, I really think that we sort of need to prioritize it, down, if we are able to explain it to people down here at the market instead of sending them just up here. So there's several things that kind of go into that, as far as being very delicate on how, you know, when people are asking questions, because, you know, a lot of people they think, you know, they're embarrassed or they don't want to ask anything, you know, and so just being really well versed in how that happens, because a lot of benefits, I guess, have been cut for people. And so now it's even more, that's even less that they're getting. And so, yeah, so I don't have all the answers quite yet, but I just wanted to let you guys know that I've been on 3 conference calls so far. And I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go to I'll talk to Angie at the Seaside Farmers Market, and I might sit there and see how they do their program.
Okay.
Yeah, so that way I have a better idea on how we could do a better.
And had the volunteers help.
I don't
Yeah.
have any
Yeah.
information, but knows anything about SNAP.
Most of them don't, no.
Yeah,
I don't know.
No, and,
I know.
and we could develop a script. I think,
Yeah.
I think there was last year, a designated person at the Astoria Market who's pretty well versed.
That's
and
who I
maybe-
spoke with.
Oh,
Yeah.
great, great.
Yeah, I
great.
had a long conference call with her.
Yeah.
And she sent me to somebody else, and then we had a long conference call, and then she's sent me now to another person with WIC.
Yeah.
So that, because it's sort of confusing because SNAP and the Oregon Trail are the same, but WIC and another assistance program, they're a little bit different. And so it's just, you know, kind of understanding how all the programs work together. Also, I asked about signage, and they don't provide much signage. SNAP doesn't, although I took a picture of the sign at the Astoria Market. But that's from Double Up, I guess.
Yeah.
Said that so once we can get the Double Up bucks, which we're too late this year, but I'm definitely gonna do it next year, then I think we'll be able to have more material and more things that we can help better educate anybody who comes to our market. I also talked to Barb at the pantry, and the other issue that she's heard is that some of the people in this program, the Tuesday from 1 to 5, that just, they're working. They're just really not able to shop at the market. And so, you know, that's just something else that, you know, we probably know about. So, you know, whereas Sunday market, you know,
Yeah.
in Astoria is a little different
Yeah.
because, you know,
I guess what I can say is I know I've seen 4, 5, 6, probably hotel housekeepers walk through there. I think they look at the prices. I don't think they buy much. But I have a question. In California, in Santa Monica, all of West LA, the markets there, they, because the grocery stores were so against the markets, they literally, the market manager blew a whistle to start. You could not sell anything before the whistle blew. And then at the end of it, when the whistle blew to stop it, you lost your right to be a vendor. You couldn't sell anything. You could finish a transaction, but you could not sell anything more after the whistle blew. But I was wondering, I'm sorry, Bob, I'll get to it. I was wondering if some of the vendors, to help the people on SNAP and whatnot, the last half hour, rather than having to box up their produce, whether they would be open to, for SNAP, offering a little bit of a discount to them.
Mhm.
So it saves them having to take it home, it saves the waste, it gives them, I mean, because the prices are high.
Mhm.
And I'm sure they'll be even higher this year. And I don't know if they'd be open to that or not.
We could, it was something we could talk to
Yeah,
them about. I'm not, yeah, go ahead, Bob.
The first couple of years or so of the market, we had the rule that you could not sell,
oh, before,
and the people and the customers could not come into the market, in fact.
that's right.
Till
The cable-
till the starting time. And Darrell Johnson even had a bell that he came out and rang to open the market. And there was a lot of resistance from vendors and over time, I think the very strong preference, both from vendors and from customers, has been,
To ease up.
once they're set up, somebody comes in, you can sell rather than the starting time.
Okay,
It doesn't seem to me that we have had a problem with people continuing to sell after the nominal.
yeah,
Yeah.
For one thing, vendors are obviously closing
Yeah.
closing down, they're ready to go home, and the customers go away.
well, I do know in Santa Monica and stuff, I mean, there were people who are trying to like work a deal, so the last 5-10 minutes, they don't want to haul any of this stuff back up. They're like, yeah, I'll sell you the whole bag for $5 rather than,
Sure.
type deal. But I didn't know, rather than, box everything up and having to deal with it when they get back to their farms, whether some of them might be open to giving SNAP a discount at the last half hour
Mhm.
of the market or not.
Yeah.
I think that's between them and their customers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And also, of course, as far as carrying stuff back.
Yeah.
Barbara's, you know as well as I do, but Barb or somebody's coming around with a
Yeah.
wheelbarrow or something to
yeah,
pick up donations for the
yeah.
food pantry.
Yeah,
I didn't know they did that.
yeah, that's what,
They have for years, yeah.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah. Which, I thank you, Bob, for bringing up about the timing. So, I think I mentioned in my last email, so we have sort of two things happening. We have the vendors, like you were mentioning, who want to start selling as soon as they're set up right away. And then we have the vendors who are still setting up because the start time's 1, and they're concerned of safety issues, of cars and people and vendors. And so I sort of feel like we sort of need to manage that a little bit more. And so I think I suggested, and again, this is just a suggestion and it may just take some time, but that we tell the vendors, like, no vehicles in the area after 12:30. Like, they need to, so if they still need to set up, they can walk their goods in, but absolutely.
yeah, but well,
Right.
I'm just thinking of traffic getting here in the summertime, and I know
Yeah.
they've got tons of stuff to unload.
What we agreed to last year was, and we had, because Tom started helping as well, that anytime, I mean, because people are in the market before 12:30 even.
Yeah.
But anytime we're moving a car in, two volunteers, one in front of the car, one behind the car, to move it in from outside the market to its parking stall within the market. As a answer to what are we doing for safety issues there.
Well, Astoria, they don't let any vehicles between 9 and 10, an hour before that market opens. And same with Manzanita. She doesn't let anybody shop.
Amy mentioned our biggest hassle with doing something like that is July, August traffic.
Mhm.
It does affect a number of our vendors and not always the same. Well, again, they're coming on to 26. It's the same vendor, but like
Yeah,
I say,
it
it can even be coming from Tillamook,
Right.
July and August, and they end up later than they.
Yeah, and I mean, I think there can be exceptions, but I think that there needs to be some sort of
Yeah.
rules.
Okay.
Because it sort of sounds like it's just sort of been a free for all. And if you
I don't,
have a local person who's not showing up to set his table up until 5 to 1, you know, and then all of a sudden it's like, well, that's not really fair for the people.
I'm totally in with, hey, our policy is be here by 12:30.
Yeah.
And yeah, we're gonna have to deal with, if it's the same person repeatedly,
Yeah.
deal with that person. And if it's a one-up,
If you have a doctor's appointment in Portland
Yeah.
and it's July, you know, you probably need to leave an hour earlier. And I think a vendor needs to sort of take responsibility in that sense too, if that's our rule, right? I mean, we're not saying, I mean, Astoria, they have to be ready there by 9 on Sundays and they're coming from Portland. I think that, you know, I just don't know that we've ever sort of said, this is what we,
Right.
you know, are requiring, but I think exceptions are absolutely understandable.
I should know this, but I'm not sure how many years the market's been going on, but it's something like 13 or so. I do not remember a time that anybody almost got injured from, I mean, we have been careful over that whole
Yeah.
time, and the way the market's talked. No, not knock on wood, just really.
Yeah.
Mark is right. We are careful guiding people, guiding vehicles through and saying, excuse me, we've got a truck, you know, we've got a vehicle coming through here. And if we had a dozen close, you know, if we had been having close calls
Right.
with this, I would say, you know, I kind of think you're right, but I think that we've got it covered.
yeah, and I think as volunteers, we just have to
Yeah,
make sure we got somebody in
Yep.
front, and behind them, because they could back up.
Yeah.
And do back up as they jockey in
Sure.
their
their parking place.
I want to disagree just a little bit because I've only been doing this front part of the cars the last couple of years. And to me, I've seen several people almost get in. People with dogs, the cars are coming through this, you know, it's a narrow way to get in on this side with information and the vegetable people. So the cars will come through. We didn't have 2 people escorting. Nobody knew what the car was. There were dogs that were almost hit. There's kids that are running around by this time. Because once you start selling, people are out in the middle of the thing walking. And so here's this car trying to weave through and figure out where he's going. And so I've seen something each time. So I agree with the time. There needs to be some time where it just stops. We also had a vendor or 2 that complained about it and one that didn't come back because of it. They felt that other people were selling, he was trying to still get set up. And there were some bad feelings.
Couple of things. One is, I don't know whether we had it last year or the last couple, there were times when we had a sign that we could give to the vendor that they could put on their counter saying, excuse me, I'm still setting up, you know, I'm looking forward to, once I'm setting up, so people weren't hanging around and nagging them to sell something, and, you know, they could see, okay, this guy's not ready. And also, if the judgment is that we need to close off time, I think we should have a place that we know we can tell people, okay, stop here, we will help you unload and bring your stuff in to accommodate the fact that,
Maybe even have
it's really hard to predict sometimes how much the traffic is going to be backed up. You're going to have.
You get an accident on.
Late. If we need to help, if they need to come in late, especially if it's just one person handling a booth.
Right.
going back and forth.
Maybe even after that time, they can come around this back part where it's more open or something. I don't know. It's just
Yeah, one,
narrow
but
little.
to have a plan
Yeah,
about how we're gonna ferry their stuff in. And
right, yeah.
we can't let you in, but we'll give you a hand, bring it in. And we understand. Okay, I've talked too much,
No,
as usual.
no.
Yeah, I think that we just, I don't know that, I mean, technically, if our market starts at 1. I mean, I feel like it needs to be fair for all, and that's what I've heard from the other market managers, is they really do try to keep it consistent. So if the market opens at 4 on Friday, the market opens at 4. It doesn't open at 3:45, it doesn't open at 3:30. It doesn't, it's, the market opens at 4. And I don't know if Seaside is as strict, because they have a bigger space to maneuver cars and things of that nature. And then again, Astoria is pretty strict on that. So I sort of just feel like if we can just at least start, to kind of get our vendors used to, because I mean, if you're coming from Portland and the market starts at 1 and you're selling, I don't know, doesn't matter, let's just say pies. And you have a local vendor who can get here at noon, let's say, very easily. And then all of a sudden, we let all these people in the market at noon. This pie guy, yeah, I have great sales. And then the other pie guy is like, well, that really wasn't fair because I thought the market opened at 1. You know what I mean? And so I feel like we need to be a little bit more, if the vendors want to talk about changing the time so that they can open earlier, then I think that's fair. I mean, I think we could talk about that. But I sort of feel like it's okay for some and not for all is sort of not really, it's not, I think we need to sort of just be a little bit more.
In the early years, when we had a really strict rule about that, I was the person who went around the rope line, which was what we had, and said, can we ask you to wait until the market's open to come in? And at a very, I don't even remember I had a very polite line. Some people didn't literally give me the finger, but ignored me. Not very many. But
Well,
it was a much more comfortable situation all around. And we had people lined up at both entrances and hanging around. So.
well, I will say in Santa Monica, people were allowed to walk through. It's just the vendor, no, I can't sell, got to wait 5 minutes. Because it was on the vendor. If he took the money beforehand, it was the death toll for him being in the market. So, which I don't think is really what you want to do here as far as a threat
Yeah.
actions, but
Safe, really.
Right. I mean, I sort of feel like if we sort of meet in the middle, right, all cars off.
yeah,
And if you're open at 12:30 and somebody's walking around, then, then that seems like we're kind of, then, we're sort of allowing for a little bit early people.
Yeah.
And without being so, no, stay out, you know what I mean? But also then, but also, and also citing the safety of
Yeah.
the reason we do it this way is because there's safety issues with our vendors still setting up. And so we just can't, that's just how, we should do it. And then those vendors who are like, oh, but I get all my early sales, at noon. Well, it's just a half an hour we're asking you to wait, to sort of just make it consistent and make the playing field a little bit more level for all vendors. So if, let's say, that some people might be coming in at 12:30 and you're coming from Portland, you may just choose to leave your house at 10, and so that you're set up because you want to make the most sales you can, right? That's the idea. So, we can do as much as we can to help you make the most sales you can, but you also have to, as the vendor, have to take some responsibility as well. And that means, we're not going to open early just for you, but we're not gonna open late just for you, I mean, here's where we're meeting kind of in the middle. So that's sort of, I wanted to just kind of talk about that because I've had some vendors concerned with safety issues. It's been brought to my attention. So I just wanted to make sure that we address that. And again, this is all, I was saying to Mark that I'm going to send out an email kind of with this information. And, it may not stick this year, but I think the more that we, do it and the more that we're consistent, then I think that all of a sudden, I think people will start figuring out. I mean, I wouldn't go down to Manzanita before 4 because they're not going to let me in, I mean, it's just the way that it is,
But you're so special. You
Yeah.
should come early.
Nope. So anyway, so I wanted to send that email, out with that information in it.
So for the week, since we're starting next week, what will our policy be?
Yeah.
Is it gonna be that we don't let anyone in before 12:30? Is that,
I think
we're
that,
gonna try to
I
enforce
think
that?
that's what we should try to do. Again, I think Mark has a point. People aren't going to be used to that. So, there may be some pushback, but, we can say, oh, we sent you the email. Did you not see the email? Okay, well, so next week, just, this is what we're doing.
Do you guys feel like it's pretty much the same people? The same vendors?
Well.
I can think of 2 or
traffic,
3 that I'm.
Again, there's always randomly somebody different. Again,
Okay.
like you say, they had something else go on that day, from a car problem to another appointment to whatever. So there's always one
Mm-hmm,
different,
mm-hmm.
but there are a number of regulars that arrive
Yeah.
last minute, and those are the ones, if this email goes out, that we can say to them, hey, we'd like your car in place by 12:30 next week.
Mm-hmm.
And you should have gotten an email to that effect 10 days ago or whatever.
Right.
Gives us something to communicate with on that, and maybe they'll get better and some won't. Again, I think the hummus is a good, he's a good example,
Thinking it.
good example of somebody who
Yes.
comes late, but he's also a good example of someone who does not expect to bring his vehicle into the market.
Right.
He's willing to park on the other side of the yellow tape or the rope
Yeah.
or whatever, and he's got carts to move his stuff 3 stalls
Yeah.
down or 2 stalls in or something.
And we always we always kind of put them at an end, I think.
Well, yeah, again,
Do.
we don't want to put him in the middle of the market.
We don't want to make them angry because they're a really popular vendor.
Really.
And another one, and I can't say they're regularly late, but they have a very oversized vehicle. Mountain to Rivers.
Yep.
He parks his rig, either, well, if they're here early, we let him drive through and he right in front of his stall. But a lot of times if he's late, he's blocking public traffic through the parking lot while he unloads into
Yeah.
his stall at the end. So again,
There are already some people who already are doing that, not coming
Yeah.
in and.
and there's another lady that last year was in the middle of the market that came fairly late. And yeah, so there's.
I think it's gonna still happen.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna, but I think if we can at least, but what we'd like to see,
Yeah.
what the volunteers should be charged with being able to do and say to the vendors,
Like I say, I think if they all get notification, it's easier for us to
Yes.
say, hey, 20 to 12, we wanted you here 10 minutes ago, try it next week.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think that it's gonna be based on, because you guys are the ones, you know, the volunteers are the ones boots on the ground, right? So it's easy to sit here and make a policy that can't be enforced
Right.
necessarily. I totally understand that, but I would like to sort of say like, if at least expectations are such and the communication is such,
Yep.
this is what we are communicating with the vendors, then, you know, I think there's always going to be those exceptions. And obviously customer service is super important. But, you know, again, if we can sort of try to manage, you know, because, you know, there may be vendors who just don't know, you know, we're like, well, it opens at 1 and I've always driven, you know, I mean, you know, I don't know. So, yeah. We'll see, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Anything else?
When are we gonna mark the parking lot? When are we gonna?
Let me know.
Besides doing it?
Let me know. When do you want to?
Okay,
The next week.
I'm available, well, could be yet today, but Thursday and Friday mornings from 8 to 10, I'm available.
I'll call you. I will call you on the phone. Okay,
Yeah, and we want to figure out how Sasquatch truck can be placed because, and I'll have
what?
a Sasquatch sandwich truck
Oh,
be placed because the way that they sell is horizontal.
off the side of their,
Yeah, so it's gonna need to be placed strategically that way.
He has a trailer.
No,
It's a food truck.
it's a food vendor truck, but
why don't Mark and I talk to you?
Yeah,
okay, perfect. And then I can show you kind of.
again,
see you the-
it's important for him to be here at 11:30.
Yeah, yeah.
The barbecue person is gonna be close by him? Are you putting the food together or?
No, they'll be in the same area, but not right next
Not
to
next
each
to
other.
each other.
No, so I'll have the last stall by the music, the barbecue, and the first stall by the information will be sauce. I'm thinking, but once I show you guys kind of the. Yeah. I don't want to have them right next to each other. Yeah. Great.
Anything else?
So I guess for marking, the main thing we need to solve before we do it is what material, tape or whatever.
But we can talk, yeah.
And
I've got ideas, but I'm not
yeah,
hard set on any of it.
so
Oh,
Uh,
does Tracy need to get approval for switching to paint or?
No,
He did.
no, last month's meeting, I talked to Trevor.
Okay,
He said he will give you a can of the appropriate kind of paint.
oh,
I have it. I have the paint.
she's got it.
Okay, he was gonna give it to you via Tracy.
Yeah, okay, that's what we're sorting out here. Who's got, because I got a tape measure,
And what color is it?
whatever, so.
I think so.
I'm just curious.
Trevor,
Yeah.
and so you already talked to the city about whoever was removing the tape.
Bob did. We don't know.
Oh, okay.
we're not gonna do tape anymore.
Yeah.
We're gonna use paint.
You're gonna use paint, okay.
This is, I figure, I said, who do I need to talk to in the city to make sure that nobody's gonna take our tape anymore? And they said, no, use paint. I'll supply the paint. This is the kind that washes off eventually. That's the way Trevor wants it.
That's the way we're gonna do it.
That's the way it's gonna go.
And if we can see later in the season that it's all getting difficult to see, we can spray it again.
Right. Okay, so you're gonna call me with when you're available, Thursday or Friday?
Yes.
And once this meeting ends, I'll run and grab a app for you guys to
Good.
show you. Okay.
Okay,
Good.
Okay, so I'm gonna sign off.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Hi, Maya.
Okay, thanks.
you available?
Anything else?
Friday? Okay,
Oh, it's not
so that's okay, we can get it.